Well, I'm Russell Preister. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for coming. It's always my pleasure to talk about Baba. I'm not an expert in Baba. I only know what I feel and what I know. I came to Baba when I was 18 years old through a man named Dick Duman, who was holding a class where we listened to tapes by Don Stevens called The Highest of the High. And that night he gave me not this very button, because I lost that one, but one with this exact image on it, the same kind of button, and it was a blessed button. And he told me that Baba had blessed this, that this has been in his hands, okay? So I'll come back to that in a minute. I'll go back to another story where this actually started. I was raised Catholic, and in our hometown in Columbus, Nebraska, there was a huge Gothic, German Gothic cathedral that I was raised in called St. Bonaventure's. And it's just a gorgeous old Gothic theater, church. And we would sing High Latin Mass every day before school as children. And when I had my first communion there, my oldest brother, who was a priest, his name is Steve, gave me this mezuzah. So this is, I'll pass this around. This is a Jewish mezuzah. Do you know what that is?
Sort of.
Yeah. So Jewish people put this on their doorway, and they touch it as a sign of faith when they come and go. And there's many different styles of this, very ornate, many of them. And it has a scroll in the back that is a prayer. I'm not sure what it means, but it's a Jewish prayer. And this symbol here on the front is one of the names of God. And so I said to my brother, why are you giving me a Jewish mezuzah for my Catholic First Communion? And he said, well, because I know you love Jesus, and these stones are from Israel, so maybe Jesus walked on these. And in my 10-year-old mind, I think, there's got to be a lot of stones that he missed in Israel. So I thought, I want something that I know he touched for sure. And so that kind of planted a seed in my mind that someday I would find something that I knew was touched by the Holy One. And that's when I saw this button and he put this in my hand, that first night I heard about Baba, I knew that this was the thing that I was waiting for. And I had instant recognition of Baba as God. I don't know how. Here you go. And my book is a memoir. It's called Light and Sound in the Age of Awakening, and it's a memoir of my spiritual journey from my early days, raised in Catholicism and Christianity. So one of my chapters is called Western Roots, and another is called Eastern Branches, because in high school I was exposed to other religions through a teacher that I had, and that became my passion. It answered so many questions that I had about religion and about God and damnation and all that, right? So the book chronicles my journey with poetry, songs, and many dreams that I've had of Baba, and prose as well. And the light and sound part of the book is because I was, at 58, I went back to school after being a carpenter all my life to become a massage therapist. And I started getting interested in light and sound therapy. And I used light and sound therapy to help people who had PTSD to retrain their brain from being in a stressed out beta brainwave, which is fight or flight, and slow your brain waves down into alpha and theta, and that's where healing can happen. And it's like biofeedback, that you retrain your brain. And so there's chapters in the book about frequencies and how frequencies change the brain and change the nervous system and help reintegrate and not be in fight or flight all the time. So because I believe that trauma, which happens probably to most of us at a very early age before we can talk, that something may scare us. Maybe it's just our parents fighting or something, but that trauma creates it sets up a pattern that will continue through your life until you resolve that initial trauma. In my case, it was in the womb. My parents, who had 11 children, lost a 2-year-old 8 months before I was born. So I was a month old when they lost my brother Danny. And so all of my mother's my gestation was in her grief. And she grieved a lot. The trauma, the family trauma, nearly broke our family up. The 5 children that were born before Danny died knew completely different parents than the 5 born after he died. And in fact, I'll tell a funny dream. My dad stayed with us. He fought to keep the family together. He was a very solid man. And recently, probably a week or 2 ago, I had a dream of my dad. And we're standing in a group of men, and we're talking about men that just never give up. They just don't quit. They just always stick with it. And I said, put my hand on my dad's shoulders, and I said, and yeah, here's one of them right here. He could have stopped at 5, but he said, no, I'm going for the gold. And that's my dad. That was my dad. So, but that was my initiation onto my spiritual path. And what happens is, just like a little duckling who follows the first thing it sees, it becomes imprinted on its first experience. A person can sometimes over and over repeat the same kind of trauma, attract the same kinds of problems or the same kinds of people throughout their whole life unless they start integrating that and understanding and processing that trauma. So for many, many years, I always found people who were distant and strict, and my mom and dad emotionally shut down after Danny died. Okay, so I found partners and friends and people that would basically ignore me, not acknowledge me, and eventually betray me. So that was how again, my initiation onto the spiritual path for me. So I'm just going to go through a few of the things. You've got copies of these. You can follow if you want, because they're a little bit deep. The poems are hard to follow if you just listen, and some people may feel they learn visually. So the first one I'm going to read is on the second page. If you look at this picture here. This is a picture of a dream I had of Baba. So my first experience of Baba, when I was 18, I came to the center here, and I was sitting in Baba's room in one of the chairs near the foot of his bed, and I started feeling these waves coming at me and hitting my body. I mean, I was 18 years old. I didn't know anything. And my mind went, what is this? And then it stopped. And the second time this experience happened was when Leatrice Johnson, Darwin Shaw's daughter, came to Denver. I think she was living in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and this was her first public talk about Baba. And after the talk, there were 3 of us sitting on the couch, and she handed me a handkerchief, and she said, this came from Baba, just sit with it. And she put it in my hands, and immediately I started feeling these waves coming off of this handkerchief. And this time I didn't try to think about it, I just let it happen. And it just felt like power, is what I remember. And the third time was this dream. So in this dream, Baba is being carried in his chair through the throngs. It was almost like Palm Sunday, like everybody hailing him, like maybe how it was in Hamirpur when Baba was just, they were madly in love with Baba. And so in the first part of the dream, I couldn't get near Baba because there were so many people. But then somebody appeared on either side of me, almost like an angel or something, and they lifted me by my elbows, and I floated. The crowd parted, and we went right up to Baba. And that's the second picture, where the person on my left, we got up to Baba, and I started feeling these waves very strongly coming from Baba. And the person on my left pushed me down on my knees. I didn't know what to do, but he pushed me down on my knees, and the person on my right put my hand on Baba's feet, and when I touched Baba's feet, the waves pushed me back, and my eyes went back in my head, and I blacked out. And that's the last time I ever felt those sensations, but I've always had certain experiences with vibration and sounds that I hear sometimes in the night in my own body that sound like wah, 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 or something like this, and it's got a very distinct pattern. And the first time I heard that was when I was on the acupuncture table with needles in me, and I would go into a deep trance. I would fall asleep, but I remember thinking I want to stay conscious as long as possible and return to consciousness as soon as I can to experience this. And I could hear and feel the chi pulsing through my body. And that's when I started getting interested in the sound therapy.
Who painted these?
These are just images I did on AI describing the dream. So these are images of, like illustrations of my dream. So I'm just going to read this poem called Darshan. Not in the world of waking did you come to me, but in the country beneath breath, when the eyes close, the mind forgets, and the soul remembers. You were lifted above dust and stone, carried like a living altar, another Jesus on his humble wooden donkey, 4 men bearing a body, broken by the world, that the world might be made whole. White sadra and dark hair flowing in the wind to stir the throngs of hearts, a multitude surging around you, a sea of faces pressing forward, hands and voices rising in praise, laying branches of palms before you, like long ago at the gates of Jerusalem. Yes, I too was there, far away, a spectacle to behold, a sea of humanity between us, and dazed by your glory, paralyzed in your gaze. Then grace took shape. 2 appeared, not by chance, one on either side of me. They spoke nothing, their hands knew my name. The crowds parted as waters part before command, and I was carried forward, not with a will not of my own, but of yours. With every step toward you, the air grew dense with holiness. Waves moved outward from your wooden throne, pounding through my chest, into my hidden heart, and took my breath away. Power without violence, love without permission. By the time I stood before you, I was reeling inside. Your presence pressed upon me like the weight of eternity, the living word contained in flesh. I did not know how to stand before God clothed as man, so obedience was given to me. One on my left pressed me down till my knees found the earth, dust remembering its origin. Another on my right raised my trembling hand and placed it where all journeys end, at your blessed feet. The moment my skin met yours, the universe surged through me. The wave did not strike, it embraced my quickened heart. Sight dissolved, and the world went black. Thoughts scattered like ash. The self fell backwards into a brightness too full to see. Darkness came not as loss, but as shelter, not as absence, but as rest. When the dream released me, you remained, not as image or form or sound, but as the living echo of having been brought by unnamed hands to your feet, to your darshan, where surrender begins. The second one here is this bit of prose. And after writing this, I found, I don't even know the man's name. He's an Iranian man on YouTube that has many videos talks about Baba. And he talks about being frozen inside with sanskaras. So this is about that. So the process of ascension or awakening is like a block of ice as it begins to melt and then evaporate. The collective consciousness of souls are in the middle are frozen solid, in solidarity with their comrades and their points of view. Those on the outside are melting and transforming from solid to liquid. They can see out into the infinite possibilities beyond. Their view is less limited, and they enjoy a good deal more freedom of movement. I hear them saying, "Hey man, come on in, the water's fine." Those in the middle, bound in a matrix of status quo, are knitted tightly together like puzzle pieces. They have grown accustomed to their encasement. I hear them saying, "No thanks, I'm fine where I am. I know I have this boss on my shoulders, but at least I can stomp on this poor fellow below me." The next step is to become like vapor and rise into the ether. For that, you need fuel. You need heat, and lots of it. The friction generated between the forces of inertia and the forces of change create the heat for the advancement and transformation of consciousness, which is generated between the poles of extreme conflict. Transformation from the solid phase to the liquid phase requires much less heat in comparison to the transformation from the liquid phase to the vapor phase. Melting requires little effort. It's almost natural, like falling. Vaporization first requires reaching a boiling point. The force of inertia is the resistance to change, which is uncomfortable, even painful. The force of change has behind it the innate will of consciousness to ever expand. Like the yin-yang symbol, these two forces are codependent and also exist in direct opposition to each other. Resistance to change requires immense energy, the energy required to protect one's cherished egoic attachments. The ego must endure the boiling phase before consciousness can ascend into the ether. All that pent-up tension and friction, that potential energy, gives way to kinetic forces so strong as to propel consciousness to great heights. This urge of consciousness to expand, the resistance of the ego, and the resulting friction between the two occurs at the individual level and on the collective level, and therefore the resulting evaporation of the false ego and the transformation into pure consciousness is also experienced individually and collectively. So this next poem is about that. So in many of my dreams are about awakening, are about dreaming, in fact, dreaming and sleeping and waking up. So some of my dreams are about that, and my poems, sometimes I write about the poem and then I write about the dream and then I make a poem about that. So anyway, here's the poem that goes with that. It's called The Fourth Phase of Water. Souls, one in consciousness, within the ocean of love, waves swell, lift, and spray. Ocean divides into drops. Wrapped in a veil of flesh, what was once one is now many. I, me, and mine, encased within form among other forms, a frozen glacier of sleeping drop souls. In the center, the hardest hearts cling to their icy angles, shoulder to shoulder, like puzzle pieces pressed tightly together, bound by hierarchy and by the weight of their neighbor above, supported by the body beneath their heel. In winter's frosty bed, a common dream of certainty, the bonds tied as vows, crystallized beliefs, compressed in solidarity, millions of fractals, images in a lattice of distortions. But at the edges, a slight planetary tilt, and the sun's tender touch finds the faces of the first wanderers. A shimmer of light, and their shape softens, a secret warmth that enters without knocking. The promise of the beloved's own presence invites the springtime thaw. Come, one and all, come unto me. Water runs around their ankles, boundaries loosen, structures dissolve, molecules spread out in rivulets, the first fluid movements. Eyesight widens, peering into the wide country of the infinite, and from the edge I hear them, their warm rivers of laughter, the invitation of lovers who have tasted freedom. Brother, sister, come, the water is warm, a new life awaits you, come, you will see. They whisper back, we are safe here, we know our shape, we know our story, in suffering we belong. We have worked too hard building this house to leave it now. This cold is our language, your tale of water is fantasy. In some hearts, winter's cold persists, but the spring thaw has only just begun. Raising the heat a mere few degrees initiates the first gentle surrender, inevitable and easy as falling. The second surrender is a blast of heat, a crucible, a fire to make vapor of the soul, to distill the essence of consciousness from the brackish waters of the old life. Inertia protects what has been, defends the idols of the ego. Change is the holy ache of what could be, and carries the promise of the infinite. My face is everywhere, come see. Inertia resists change. Resistance creates friction, and friction generates heat. To rise into the ether, heat must be chosen, welcomed, and endured. To fuel the transformation, pain and frustration must reach a boiling point. Inertia and change, these two are twins, born of one mystery, locked in an ancient dance. Opposition is their intimacy, struggle their song. One must bow so the other may rise. One says remain, one says return. The tight fist of this is me, this is mine, against the open hand of love. These two press together and the furnace ignites. The friction and tension, the potential energy explodes into kinetic forces. The heart's fortress, once cold as ice, melts into vapor, releasing the heart on invisible wings. The urge to expand, the resistance of the ego, the boiling, the vapor rising, the story repeats quietly in the private chambers of the heart and loudly in the collective storm. What transpires in one soul inspires in all souls. The melting of a heart awakens the ocean. The vapor rising from many becomes a blessing over the nations. The journey is clear. What was bound melts. What melts flows. What flows boils. What boils rises. What rises returns, and what returns becomes one with the beloved. The one who whispered from the start, melt, surrender, and come home to me. Come home and rest in me. And then these are all pictures of dreams I've had. So I'll just briefly, I won't go into the detail like I do in the book, but I'll just briefly tell you. This first one was Baba ordered me to go to Mara. Oh, I was so scared to go to Mara. I thought, I'm not pure enough to be anywhere near Mara. But he said, no, you go to Mara and do as she says. So I went to Mara, and she's standing there like the Virgin Mary, and she's welcoming me into her arms, and she says, I require that you give to me all the things a woman requires, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. This is what Mara said to me. And she opened her arms and embraced me, and when I stepped back, these holy pictures came out of her chest, and each picture had the face of a different woman on it. And to me, this meant, because I was looking for a wife. I wanted to be married again. And to me, this says all women are contained in Mara. She's the queen mother of the world. And so that was just very beautiful. This one was just where I was knocking on Baba's samadhi, and I couldn't get in. It was locked, and I knocked, and he ignored me. This one here, does anybody know what a torus is? You know what a torus is? A field of energy, a toroidal field, and it's the shape of a donut, and it's constantly turning inside out like this, and it's twisting down the middle like a drain, and it's twisting around the outside like this. Your aura is in the shape of a torus. It has a hole down the middle.
Isn't the magnetic field of the Earth like that?
The same with the magnetic field of the Earth, or a galaxy, a spinning galaxy.
Huh?
And an atom, and an apple. This shape is replete throughout nature. I had a dream that I had a rope in each hand, and I was going like this as I was spinning in a circle. And then I started pivoting from my navel, and my feet were drawing a circle on the ground, and my head was drawing a circle in the air. So I was just like this, you know? And so it created this spherical shape around me, and I was just spinning like a torus. And that, again, was among many dreams that I had about sound and frequency. This other one is called Percival's Dream, and in this dream I had been wounded in my side. In fact, I've had a pain here in my life, all my life for some reason. I don't know why. But in this dream I was stabbed here, and the wound never healed, and so I lived with this pain all the time. But in the dream, I'm an old man, and I feel the ache, and I finally look at it, and this light burst out. So there's a poem about that one too. This dream was, I woke up in bed out in nature. I stood up in my bed and I looked around and I saw this giant stone arch, and inside it looked like a cathedral. And there was a man standing there who looked like a waiter. He had a cloth over his arm, and he said, "Come on in." And he said, where you live, do you have to work for your food? I said, yes, we toil, we labor. And he said, not here. He says, everything is given free. All you need is hunger. And as far as I could see, there were rooms after room of table after table, all being set. He said, come in, the feast is about to begin. And this one was a dream my wife had, so it's very similar. she went into a castle, and the man was raising a toast, and they were all dressed in like old time clothes, like medieval clothes, and he was raising a toast. And this one here was me sitting watching God scooping me out from inside the pot, scooping out stuff from the bottom. And this is a dream I had in Mehrabad when I went to India, and I was just suspended in space, in darkness, and I said, "Is anybody there? Meher Baba?" Not a sound. So that was one of my dreams.
Could you read that poem that goes with it?
Okay, I'll read this poem. I saw myself alone, suspended in an absolute blackness. I called out, "Is anyone there? Meher Baba?" No reply, not even my own echo returned to me. Only absolute stillness, a vast womb of night, space pregnant with silence. And the last one we'll do is redemption, and I have that on my phone. It's been made into a song, so I'm hoping that a lot of my poems I'll be able to put them to music. And this is the first one. I've got 2 done. So this is just the first one. This is called Redemption, so you can follow along. The only thing is, these are the final lyrics. The song was recorded with a few of the lyrics were different, but this is more accurate. But so this is Redemption. Now, be prepared. This is a big song, and it's really about, just like this picture. Baba people will recognize this, right? But so will Jesus lovers recognize this. I'm between those 2 worlds. I was steeped in Christianity, and I love Jesus from the day I can remember. So this is a combination of Baba and Jesus to me. And this song, and I like writing songs that you wouldn't know if it was written by a Christian or a Baba lover, because both could relate, okay? So a lot of my songs don't actually include Baba's name or Jesus' name, but you'll recognize Baba and Jesus in this.
Of
I'm working on getting this professionally recorded, and I want to make the book, I want to have the book with a CD. And this will be one of the songs. I've got a few more work that I'm working on. And but what I like about this song is that it's kind of a bridge between Christianity and Baba, because Christian people could hear this and say, "Oh, this is about Jesus." They wouldn't know, and Baba people will recognize certain things in here that that are from Baba, and so that's where I live. I kind of live between Jesus and Baba, and that's why I think this one is so apropos, because to me they are. I mean, obviously Baba says they're the same. So I have 9 siblings, and most of them are Christian, and only one family, my youngest brother, will hear me talk. Him and his wife and children, they'll hear me talk about Baba, but the others just won't. You know? So I kind of cloak it in Jesus. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to hear everything about your whole life. Interesting.
Well,
I'd love to.
like I say, that experience of being in the womb when my brother died, I have a song that I wrote for Danny, my brother, and describing how all us, Mom and Dad went to the hospital. Danny had a brain tumor, about the solid size of a golf ball, and he was 2, and so they went to the hospital. My oldest brother, Steve, stayed home with all the kids, and they went to the hospital, and he had surgery, and he didn't make it. They didn't really, I don't think they expected him to make it. But when Steve got up in the morning and found Mom and Dad back in their bed, he said, "What happened?" So Mom and Dad called all the kids into the bed, and they told him, and everybody just cried. Well, I don't know if my mom knew, but she was pregnant with me by 1 month. So I just absorbed all that. And for the next month, you know, my mom and dad were grieving. And it probably nearly broke my mom and dad apart. But I imagine, and part of the poem is meeting Danny on my way in as he's on his way out. And he's saying, remind the others that I'm still here. So, but you know, what happens when you're wounded, you know, at an age like that? Or I was born into something I had no idea of. My parents were shut down, you know, and so it took many years for me to understand and integrate. But where was I going? But Danny, now my parents are back together with Danny. They're both passed.
So they healed over time, though, right?
They healed over time, but there was always, you know, they didn't know how to heal. They didn't know how to deal with that death, you know. So they just carried on, and but the younger kids never knew the parents that my older siblings knew. They were carefree. They were in love. So, but
How do you know that?
pardon?
How do you know that? Your siblings told you?
Well, they told stories of how there was family water fights in the house, and they had a family bed. They oftentimes all slept together, and the parents I knew were shut down. You know? So that was kind of my initiation, and but the good thing is, you know, we left Catholic school and Catholic church when I was in 3rd grade, and then we came to Denver and we went to public school, and everything changed. I wasn't happy in public school, and so it took me many years to understand the grief my parents, you know, went through. So, and then I found Baba when I was 18, and came here, and that was the beginning of that. Anyway, that's enough.
You can continue.
So are you still working with people with PTSD, or do you do other?
No, I was a cabinet maker and a interior trimmer on houses for many years until I went back to school at age 57 to become a massage therapist, and that's when I did my light and sound therapy and worked with people with that. And then that only lasted about 5 years because physically I couldn't do massage anymore. And I still have the light and sound equipment that I use on myself and my wife. But it's there's more about that part in the book, about frequency and you know, understanding the different brain waves. So I'll just say this about brain waves. There's at the bottom is delta. That's deep sleep. That's unconscious. Okay. The saints and masters can go into that low vibrating frequency and be conscious, but we can't. We lose consciousness. And then the water line, that's theta. That's semi-conscious dream state. And you can be, so it's kind of like you're bobbing in the water. Your eyes can be above the water or just below the water. You can be in and out.
Like crocodile.
Like a crocodile. Or a fish. So that's a semi-conscious dream state. And that's where it's possible actually to release a lot of trauma that you've had in your life. So that's the work that I did on myself and on others. Or unconscious trauma release. And then above that is, let's see, alpha. Alpha is the happy state of a carefree child. It doesn't care about anything. It's just happy on the beach, playing with anything, you know? They're just carefree, okay? And then at the very top is beta. Beta is the false ego,
Yeah.
okay? So beta is left brain, and alpha and theta is right brain. The left side of the body is controlled by the right brain, which the left side contains the heart. So the heart is connected with your right side of your brain. That's alpha and theta. And the conscious part of your brain is the left side, and that's connected with ego, with false identification. And the journey from beta into alpha and theta is the journey from false thinking into your feeling heart. Okay? And the in Arabic, I'm kind of losing my words here because it's been a while, but they have a system of the 4 levels of the heart. And they talk about the 4 levels of the heart being, it corresponds with these 4 brainwave states. So the fastest and most frenetic is that beta brainwave. And it says, oh my God, I've got to watch out because something bad could happen again. You know, it's always on the lookout. And it's always thinking, and it's always planning, and always worrying. And alpha is like that happy child on the beach. And theta is that semi-conscious dream state where you have access to all of your subconscious. And delta is that deep, usually unconscious sleep state. And the deepest delta is where you go every night when you lose consciousness. And so when you can reactivate, when you can be in theta consciously, you can reactivate all of the trauma in your life and allow it to bubble up into your conscious life without expression. So what creates binding and impressions is action, right? So if you can, everything you think, do, and say can create a sanskara, can create binding. But when you're in your semi-conscious dream state, these things can come up without creating new sanskaras. You can release them. So.
And so sanskaras can create with thoughts?
Everything you think and do and say creates a sanskara. It's like a groove in a record, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper every time you repeat that action.
We need control our thoughts,
So
actions.
when you're in theta, that semi-conscious dream state, you may be doing it in the actual dream state in semi-conscious or unconscious, or you may be doing it in a semi-conscious or conscious state, in that kind of a sweet spot. And the more consciously you remember and think about and process your emotions, your traumas, the more you release it without creating new sanskaras. And that's the beauty of theta. And so there's a whole therapy around that. And so I would give massage to people, but sometimes I would put them on my light table, and they had a big subwoofer right up under the back and 4 speakers around them, and I would record their voice, and they would record an affirmation, like whatever they were trying to overcome, or just something generic, like I am God, you know. And the computer would analyze their frequencies based on their vocal tones and then play a series of tones to fill in their missing or weaker frequencies.
Wow.
Okay? And
Wow.
so these tones would come out of 4 speakers and a subwoofer, and they would create a standing waveform around your body
Wow.
to where if you put your head over here or over here, it sounded differently. But when you put it right in the middle, it was like stereophonic. And you were in the middle of that, like a cocoon of sound.
Mm.
And then I also had lights on you. I had 1,600 medical grade LED lights on you, red, blue, and near infrared. And the red just went into the skin. And the near infrared went all the way 6 inches into the body. And I had the entire back and the entire front of your body covered with lights.
Wow.
So your entire torso was saturated with these near infrared lights, which caused the body to increase production of nitric oxide, which would go everywhere in the body. And nitric oxide is a natural analgesic that brought your nervous system from fight or flight to rest and repair. And so people would lay on the table and they would get the lights and the sound and they would just completely go out.
Yeah.
And what happens is that you can process a lot of these traumas out of your body when it happens.
Wow.
So,
Where did you learn to do this?
I kind of learned on my own. I studied, I got my first set of lights and then my sound therapy system, and I kind of combined them both together for this therapy. And then, because what it did, it just forced your body to go into that theta dream state, and that's where your body releases trauma.
Did you get most of that intuitively, or did you study?
I
Because
mostly
know
got
people
it
that do
intuitively.
very similar.
Yeah, I've
things
heard of
from
people
what
that
I've
do it,
done.
but I mostly did it intuitively. Because that's where I lived. I was in trauma since I was born, since before I was born.
I think we all are at one level or another.
We all are, that's
We're
right.
separate from-
Separation from self, you know?
Many variations in a way of people doing things like this now.
Yes, there's a lot of
Each
upcoming
is unique.
research about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's all due to Baba's manifesting, you know?
New humanity.
Well, thank you all. It's really,
Yeah.
this is actually my first time of speaking about this. This is a painting Baba, or Natasha did, and did you see on the
Sai Baba.
sides here are Sai Baba's words, some of Sai
Oh,
Baba's
how
words.
cool.
His teaching.
Yeah.
You did that,
You're a
Natasha?
wonderful
You're a
artist.
really good artist.
Thank you. I started in America. I
Oh,
started
really?
to paint in America.
How long ago?
What?
I started to paint in America.
She had
Oh.
never
Because-
painted a human face before she
No,
came to
it was
America
my
3
dream.
years ago. This was painted here in America.
Oh,
No,
what?
this is everything in America.
Oh,
In
okay.
Ukraine, I have few paintings during the war. I painted, and yes, I paint glass in Lakewood Center in Denver, in cultural center. I speak on Russian like fish swim in water because
Soviet Union was
Soviet
Ukraine.
Union, it's history.
Yeah.
History. It was Soviet Union and many years, and we speak Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Litva, Latvia, Russia, Ukraine. Many countries speak Russians.
Yeah.
Spoke Russian, and now still we were in Moldova. We went to last year 2025 to Ukraine. It was still bombed, and through Moldova.
Right.
In Moldova, everyone speaks Russian. I could speak. I just came home because from Soviet Union, many people speak Russian.
They have the Black Sea,
We have Black Sea, Azov Sea,
Azov Sea.
and in West Ukraine, it's like small America. When I came to America,
It looks similar.
yes, I look on forest and mountains. I told to Russell, it's like West Ukraine. I'm like at home.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you feel at home here.
She's been here 3 years now, and we are trying to see if we can move down here.
Oh, that would be
Be near
nice.
the- Hi, I'm Russell Preister.
And,
This is Natalia.
Hi.
She's from Ukraine. We're here at the Mayor Spiritual Center. This is my third time. My first time was when I was 18 years old, and this is Natalia's first time. And these are just some of the pieces that I do. This Baba art, you can see this is behind a quartz crystal, and this is a painting of Jesus that Natalia did in oil. And on the back we have charoite. We have some with, this one has a turquoise on the back. Of course,
Oh,
there's
beautiful.
Mayor Baba. And these are all quartz crystals which not only amplify the image, but they amplify the frequency of whatever is touching it. And then these would be all different stones that people could choose to be incorporated. Now this piece here was made in Ukraine during the war. Baba's hair was there at the beginning of the war in Ukraine. And these are the colors of the Ukrainian flag, blue and yellow.
Yes.
And so this is a blessed button.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
inside is Baba's Duni ash from his fire in India. And this one here is called the Kutub, which is a 7-pointed star. And on the back is a turquoise. And in the middle of this sacred geometry, this peyote stitch, is a hollow spot where God occupies.
Oh,
And
wow.
this is a worry stone, a rose quartz worry stone, but we call it a don't worry, be happy stone. And then this is made from a walrus tusk, fossilized walrus
Beautiful.
ivory. And this is the Native American 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. We have moonstone on the north, citrine on the east, carnelian on the south, and lapis in the west. And then on the back side is the Zuni Zia
That's
cross
beautiful.
in turquoise. And these two pieces of stones were once one piece of stone. These were from the same piece of turquoise,
Oh, wow.
these two pieces. And then this is a piece of mammoth ivory up here.
Oh, up there.
So if people want to order, I have a supply of Baba's hair, and people can order, and I can put a stone on one side, a beautiful stone on one side, and then like a clear crystal stone on the front side.
Oh, yeah.
You see? So I just wanted to show.
So show yours, show the ones here on your.
And these two, this is a blessed button, and on the back is a quartz crystal with Baba's hair behind it, and this also has Baba's Duni ash inside. This one is the painting by my wife Natasha, and on the back is a quartz, there is a starlight crystal cross grown in the ground like this, where one crystal grows through the side of another. And there's a wonderful story, which maybe I'll tell this later in the video.
Okay, we'll look forward to that.
So
That's, oh, let me get your card. Is this how they
Yeah.
can contact
and
you?
my email is on the back. avatarsown1@gmail.com.
Okay. Wow, those really fine work you do.
It's
Okay, now.
Yeah, this is a popular place now.
hello.
There's
I'm Russell, and this is my wife Natalia,
Hi.
And she is the artist behind this photo, which is Jesus, and it's based on the Shroud of Turin. This is an oil painting that I shrunk down. On the back of this is a star-like cross that grows like this in the ground. And the story behind this is that when the pilgrims landed, the Indians that they met recognized the crosses that they were wearing because they were religious, right? And they asked, who is that, or what's that about? And they said, well, that's the cross of our Lord who died on the cross. And they said, it's the same as our fairies tell us that they heard that the Son of God had died on a cross, and they were so sad that they made these crystal crosses in the ground.
Whoa.
That's the story. I don't know how much is legend or truth, but it's a beautiful story. So this is a blessed button, and I have Baba's hair behind a quartz crystal, and quartz not only magnifies the image, but it also amplifies the frequency. And inside is Baba's Duni ash from his fire in India. And there's another one here with Jesus. And again, all my pieces have Baba's Duni ash in it. And this is a piece of charoite on the back. This is, of course, Baba's image, and this is a piece of turquoise. This one was made in our bathroom in Ukraine during the war. So we had Baba's hair at the beginning of the war in Ukraine. And these are the colors of the Ukrainian flag. And then this is amber, and I think it's a aventurine. And any of these other stones that you see could be made into a piece. I also have some Baba's hair that I can put into some of the pieces. These two pieces used to be one stone, and I made one for her and then one for me. And then this is the four directions of the Native American north, south, east, and west. North is moonstone, citrine, carnelian, and lapis, and this is turquoise. And then on the back side is the Zuni Zia, and this is a piece of mammoth ivory at the top. And then this, I call this piece Christos. It looks like a cross, and it's a walrus ivory, fossilized walrus ivory with a piece of lapis lazuli on the top. And this will hang on a necklace someday. This one I call the Don't Worry, Be Happy stone, because it used to be a worry stone, but now it's a Don't Worry, Be Happy stone. And this one I call Qutb. It has a seven-pointed star, and on the back is a turquoise from Tibet. And this is all based on sacred geometry. It's the peyote stitch, and energy follows that like on a torus or a toroidal field, and in the middle of the Qutb is a hollow space for God. And then this one here is one of my earlier pieces. This is a ruby, and this one was just done on leather. So just different pieces, and all these stones will someday be put in a piece. Avatars own one at gmail.com. Not avatars only one. Center.
All right, thank you.
I have to ask, how did you guys meet?
When
Everyone
I met her, I tell people, when I met her, she was in the Ukrainian mafia. It's true, and I had to pay to get her out because our first date was in a restaurant called the Mafia.
Yes, yes. And then they repaired,
I was going to Ukraine, and her friend Ina knew I was coming through this group, and she told Natasha she wanted us to meet, and she didn't know very much English, and Ina was fluent in English, so Ina was our translator on all our first dates.
I
So
didn't
it's-
know English completely.
But
No
we
one
had a
knows.
wonderful time, and then after about 10 days, she said, okay, you guys are on your own, and we used Google to translate everything.
Or
Yes.
Sign language.
Yeah.
Like Baba,
We
like
did
Baba.
fine.
I'm
And
very
then-
impressed with your English.
oh, I started to talk little because I went to work. I'm work as a teacher in daycare with small babies. And my coworkers are American, and sometimes they understand me, sometimes I understand that they don't understand. Sometimes, but every day I know more and more words. So, oh, finally, I can talk little.
Yeah, you're doing
Not
pretty good.
fluently, but I have big accent. Sometimes people don't understand me, no? But I continue to speak.
Good.